Hey guys, we have someone super exciting hanging out on the sidelines with us today. Tony Deyo, a stand-up.
8 off the mat and go.
Welcome to On a Water Bridge, the podcast where we talk everything marching arts.
Everyone, bring it in.
It's an episode of season 2 of On a Water Bridge, the podcast where we talk everything you and your friends are. I'm Jackie Brown. Hey guys, we have someone super exciting hanging out on the sidelines with us today. Tony Deyo, a stand-up comedian who's renowned for his sharp, quick material and near-perfect comedic timing, likely honed from his years as a professional symphony musician and marching band drill writer. New York City's Village Voice calls him one of the tightest joke writers in the business. Hi, Tony.
Hello. I love when my bio is read back to me. That's always. I wonder what.
Well, I have more because I've been so excited to meet you. Woody is here on the sideline with me too, and I'm just like I said, I've been excited to meet you. We've been talking about doing this interview for so long. You actually made your late night television debut on Conan in 2013.
That's correct.
You've also been on The Late Show with Craig Ferguson.
Yep.
AXS TV's Gotham Comedy Live and Comics Unleashed with Byron Allen. And you released an album, Comedy Road Trip, which topped the Billboard comedy chart and debuted as the #1 selling stand-up album on iTunes. And you recently were featured on Jeff Foxworthy's podcast, A Comic Mind. And you were named one of the year's best by the New York Post, and you are a regular on SiriusXM. Like, seriously, this is so exciting. Like I said, I've been so excited to meet you because you have this amazing resume.
I'm excited to find out some ins and outs of the activity, and I think it's great that finally people in our activity can learn to convert what we laugh at all the time to regular street people stuff, because we got some funny stuff going on. We always laugh, right? But it's our own personal world. To take it and convert it, I'm interested to see what Tony's got going on.
All right.
Make a joke, Tony. Don't you hate when they do that?
Well, I've got basically your career.
Make a joke, Tony.
I've got basically your career as a comedian covered here.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and do your 32 count life story. So if you, we're going to give you 8 counts on a metronome.
Yep.
And basically just tell us everything that happened from the day you were born until you became a successful comedian.
Okay, I can do that. I do want to say I feel like there should be a dividing line where at a certain age we get more than 32 counts, because you get these people in here 25 years old, they've done 3 things in their life. I got a long list. I've been around a while, but I'll do it. I can get it down to 32
I feel
counts.
that.
All right.
So we're very linear here. Thank you.
Yeah. Who's got the Dr. Beat? All right, there we go.
6, 7, 8.
All right, so I was born in Utah. I moved to Louisiana when I was 1 year old, and I moved to Virginia when I was 6 years old. So I was in first grade in Virginia. I grew up in Southwest Virginia. I graduated from high school there. I went to James Madison University. I got a music ed degree. I marched with Cadets of Bergen County in 1993. I started writing drill for some high schools in 94. I got a percussion performance degree from University of Nevada in Las Vegas. I taught Phantom Regiment in 1998. I started teaching middle school and high school outside of Corpus Christi, Texas in 98 as well. For 2 years, I taught middle school in Austin, Texas for a year. I started doing stand-up comedy In Austin, Texas, I retired from public school teaching to pursue comedy. I moved to North Carolina, lived there for about 6 years. I moved to New York City. I made my first TV appearance on Conan in 2013. My son was born 2 weeks later. I made my second TV appearance on The Late Late Show in 2014. And I've spent the last 10 years trying to juggle being a comedian and a dad and a drill designer to moderate success. There we go. Did I make it in 32 counts?
Hey,
I was.
That was. You get the extra counts for age. It's fine.
Fantastic. I knew I was going to have to argue for a few extra measures.
So that's awesome that you were a band director first. So
yeah.
You really have covered all of the aspects. You performed, you did drum corps, you were a band director, and you also did it in multiple different parts of the country.
Yeah, I moved to I went to school in Virginia just because I knew the marching band there at JMU and I wanted to be in that marching band. And then I went to Vegas I wanted to study with a marimba professor there, Dean Gronemeyer. And then I moved to Texas because I knew Texas school music programs were so well supported. And I taught at a very tiny school. There was like 100 kids in the band program. We had 3 full-time band directors. I was just the drum guy, and there was a brass guy, and there was a woodwind guy. And it was unbelievable. It was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. And it was such a perfect model for how arts should be supported in public school education. And it was the same thing was true when I went to Austin. I taught at just a middle school. Again, there were 3 full-time band directors, brass, percussion, and woodwind. And then we had probably 8 different private teachers that were in and out all day long, just pulling kids out of band. And so we had unbelievably good music programs there. And I felt very blessed to be able to teach there in Texas when I did.
So now that I know what my life would have been like, because Tony, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Just like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was it was kind of the perfect teaching experience down there because when I left teaching, I moved to North Carolina and I talked to some band directors, and I talked to one band director. His budget for the year was $500. And when I was in Texas, I could spend that without asking. Like I just had to bring a receipt back. I'm like, that's your year? I don't know what you do with $500. You can't bang a dent out of a tuba for $500.
Yeah, for $500, right?
Yeah, just give me 0. Don't pretend like you're giving me money at that point.
So how do you feel like that background as a marching arts musician has influenced your transition into stand-up comedy?
Well, I always tell people that I have good comic timing because of my music background. And that's mostly so I can sleep at night, knowing the thousands and thousands of dollars I spent on college are 100% wasted.
Do you feel like you have more material to use than the average person because of?
Yeah, in a way. I feel like that. I feel like I have more material because I lived quite a bit of life before I started comedy. I started fairly late as far as comedians go. I didn't start till I was 28 years old. So, I had a regular life and a job and I was married and, some comics I know they start when they're 18 or 19 and that's the only thing they pursue. So after a while you forget how regular people live. That you can't relate to a regular
Accurate.
person. But I lived a regular life and had a regular job. And so I feel like that was helpful to me.
Again, Tony, thank you for living my life.
I've mapped it out for you. You still got time.
I started my comedy stuff probably in 2010.
2010, all right.
Yeah. And one day I just finally decided I'm going for it. And I took a class at the university about the writing stuff, and it just took off from there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same. I did the same thing, partly because, I had a regular job and a regular life. I had loved stand up for so long, but I was worried I was going to regret not trying it. So that was the thing, the catalyst that really pushed me into doing stand up, is I didn't want to look back and say, man, I've loved stand up for so long and I never even tried it. So I knew the odds were unbelievably long odds to succeed in comedy, but and I was okay failing. I really was. I knew I could go into it and it might be the worst thing I ever did in my life, but at least I'd be able to look back and say, I tried. I tried it. I was terrible at it, but I gave it a shot. Because there's something in me that's okay with that. I'm not okay with not trying, but I'm okay with trying and failing.
I think that's just genetically built into all of us music people,
Yeah, because we have to fail for a long time at music before you get good at it.
So did you find, I know it myself, like, when I first got into it, people were all, hey man, don't be nervous. I'm like, nervous? Who's nervous?
Yeah,
when
I've been in front of people.
Yeah, they're all worked up. You're like, would you calm down? Just back up off me, all right? I'm okay. You know, and I felt like that was an advantage I had over the beginning comics around me, that they didn't have stage presence. You know, and people, wow, you're so big. I'm like, that because of the drum corps thing, that's the only way you know how to be is
you take up space with your whole personality.
Yes. And that was a very big strong point for me. I'm very envious of you right now, my friend. Because
what's funny is the taking up space and being big is the worst thing I'm at.
Oh, really?
In comedy. Yeah, I'm a very very medium to low energy comedian, and I'm always thinking I need to be bigger, and especially when you get to perform in theaters and things, you're on a bigger stage and you're in front of bigger rooms. I have to be bigger, but it's something I constantly have to think about.
I guess from, I had to tell you, I developed a lot of my bigness from actually instructing,
Right.
I can't stand using the microphone.
Right.
Get used to mic. I don't need the mic. It just messes up my timing. So I'm just big by nature.
Yeah.
So the bigger the room, I just instinctively get bigger. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And plus, I was always the guy in the back of the bus. I had to be big. I had to be big. I'm sorry, I'm taking up all your space, Jackie.
I was going to ask the next question. Tony, how has your comedy evolved since you debuted? This is like, you posted that video on TikTok, and that's the first I had ever heard of you being a drill writer before, or having anything to do with marching band. So how has your comedy evolved since you debuted? What have some of those big changes in the stand-up comedy been for you as you've gone through your career?
I've always worked pretty clean over my career, but I've gone from being maybe 90% clean to 100% clean. So that changed, and that was because I'd heard Jim Gaffigan talking about it one time. He was kind of the same way. He was 90% clean, and it just clicked to him one day. He was like, if I'm almost all the way clean, there's no reason not to just be completely clean. So that's a change I've made. I've become a lot more confident over the years. That's a natural progression, I think. But, I've been doing this for a little over 20 years now. So I've become a lot more confident on stage. I've bombed in every single way imaginable. So doing poorly on stage doesn't scare me anymore because I've been in every situation. I've had audiences hate me. I've had audiences not listening to me. Most of it in the early years of comedy. I don't find myself in those situations anymore. But, you know, in case I do, I've been there before. So very few things surprise me on stage anymore. So that's nice. That gives you a confidence. I'm a lot more confident in my sort of comedic instincts now. After writing for 20 years, I have a decent idea of what's going to work before I try it on stage. In the first decade, you're like, well, I think this is funny, but who knows? And most of the time I was wrong. You know, over the years, your instincts get better and you learn to write in your own voice. And so that helps.
You know, there's nothing worse than playing a room where there's televisions, right?
Oh, yeah. And they won't turn them off. Yeah, the football game is on.
Oh, man. And you're making your joke. And cricket.
Yeah.
You pull out your best stuff. Cricket.
Yeah.
See, Woody, I was thinking you were meaning like televisions, as in like if you're performing at, you know, the Alamo Dome or something, and there's a jumbotron, and you accidentally see yourself, and it's like 4 counts behind where you actually are.
No.
Yeah.
No, you accidentally see the football game on the TV.
You know, sometimes you go to they have these events at a bar or at a club, and the event is in a smaller room, but on the other side is the bar that's still functioning, and the television are all on, and half the room is back there with the television.
Yeah.
They're not standing back there. They're just looking at the television while you're giving it your all. And you're like, hey, you, looking at the television. Who, me? Yeah, you. I'm telling jokes up here.
Yeah. The good news is the longer you're in this business, the less you find yourself in those situations.
Do you find that it's more like certain venues that do that have situations like that? Or is it just the audience? Like, what's your audience engagement like, you know?
I mean, when you start out, you're doing a lot of like bars and things where they decide to do a comedy show. Someone decides, hey, this will be a good place to do comedy. But I still do a lot of those in New York City, but they tend to be set up a little bit better. There's so much comedy in New York. People know what needs to happen to make a show successful. And it does mean, like, even if you're in a sports bar, the TVs go off while the show is on. A lot of little things like that. But as I get older and have been doing this more, I work in comedy clubs and small theaters and things where people know they're coming to see comedy. Yeah.
Yes.
You're not interrupting someone's evening at a bar. And sometimes people are in a bar, like they don't even know comedy is going to happen. I call it ambush comedy. And I feel as bad for them as they feel about it.
You know, it's very bizarre, Jackie. Like, these people are at the bar and they have no clue that this is about to happen. And you're like, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What the heck is going on here? And they're like looking over their shoulder.
Right, yeah. It's the worst. But, I don't end up in those types of shows anymore, which is nice.
So
that's
glad to hear
perk
that.
of getting older.
I'm so glad to hear it because, I actually took it personal a lot of times.
Oh, yeah, you can never do that.
And that's what I did.
Yeah, that's not...
like, I
feel like just being in social media, that's something you learn you have to get over really quickly.
Yeah.
You can't take anything people say personally.
Yeah. Yes, you do. I feel like I kind of started to blow up maybe a year or so ago on Instagram. I had a couple videos get very big. And the sort of best practices for social media is you're supposed to reply to everybody and engage with everyone, which means you have to look at the comments, which, my instinct is I probably shouldn't look at the comments.
Oh, my heart.
But you always run across someone telling you you're terrible and you're not funny. And, but you know, you do get, you learn another layer of thick skin to ignore a lot of that. Because the truth is, a lot of people did like it, and that's why it's gone viral.
Yeah, you got to really focus on those people who enjoyed it versus the people who are the hecklers or whatever. Right. What's the most memorable interaction you have had with an audience member during a performance?
I don't know if I have a most memorable one because my style of comedy, I don't get heckled a lot. I don't talk about controversial topics. You know, I stay away from religion and politics and things that tend to rile people up or make them think they need to give you their opinion. I don't talk about any of those things. So when someone ends up talking to me in a show, it's honestly because they're just, you know, maybe I asked a question. I usually don't because I'm not interested in the audience talking. But maybe I asked a question, or maybe they think they're just being helpful. But I never, I don't want to say never. I very, very, very rarely get someone trying to interrupt my show or is upset by something I said.
Do you?
Okay.
So you don't interact with the. It took me a while to actually introduce that into my writing. You know.
Yeah.
There are planned moments, as you would know. Jackie, believe it or not, all of this stuff is carefully planned out, just like writing a drill. That also made writing comedy easy because it's just like writing music or writing drill. Like when you sit down, form and function, transition, form, function, transition.
Yep.
It was so easy to put the two worlds together for me.
Yeah.
Have you tapped into any drum corps stuff?
I mean, I had a joke a couple weeks ago, which I think Jackie was talking about being a drill designer that got a lot of traction online and tons of people.
Is that the video that I saw last week?
Probably.
Yeah, that's the one. We shared it, Tony, all over our group chats, and we were like, "Who is this guy? We need to get him on here."
Funny. No, and, that was great. I was mad.
That's great.
Because I could never think how to.
We were trying to connect you with different drum corps and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny too because I had posted that video clip a couple of years ago, and it didn't get a lot of traction. But you know, every once in a while I'll repost something, and it just hits the algorithm perfectly. And
yep.
You know what? I could never figure out how to tap into that resource. Now
it's just luck, honestly.
It's because, you know, there's a lot of material laying on the ground from our drum corps experience.
Oh yeah. It's also it's such a niche little world that you have to, if you are going to talk about drum corps, like as a comedian, you have to find a way to kind of explain it to people.
Explain it to people, yes.
Because it's real odd if we're honest about it. You know, like, it's kind of like professional marching band. And they're like, what? Like, I was the best at it.
I really, if I was going to take that approach, I would try to find a way to parallel it with real world people. Like,
normal people.
Yeah, real world people. I always refer to us as, you know, a parallel world. We don't operate in the same rhythm as regular people.
Right. I mean, in a summer on tour, it's the ultimate, like, alternate universe.
Alternate universe.
There's nothing about a summer that looks anything like real life.
Like real life. I agree with that 1,000%. So what do you focus your comedy on?
These days, like, I have a kid now. I talk about being a parent and my kid, and I describe
That's
myself
funny.
as an observational comedian, which is, I don't even like that term because I feel like every comedian is just kind of observing the world. But that's about the best I can come up with.
Yeah, I don't have a kid, but I have a wife. So
Yeah, that sort of thing.
most of my stuff is it's home based.
Yeah, yeah.
People can relate to. So when you were saying how you don't get heckled because you don't mess with the religion and the politics and things like that, neither do I. Yeah, most of it is just things that people can touch immediately.
Yeah, and if you can connect with everyone, like, politics splits the room in half immediately. That's a much easier job being a comedian if you can connect with everybody and not connect with half of the people.
It's true.
Yeah, it has to be expectations of you being funny to be able to split the room and people laugh at everything.
Yeah, that's a line that I don't feel like walking.
Yeah, when you're not a known commodity like one of the big guns, people they question you. Yeah, what makes you smart? Because I am. So
I'm a parent myself, and I'm about to have a second baby.
Ooh, braver than I am.
Do you balance life with your career as a comedian, a drill writer, a parent? Like, you have to have such good organizational skills. How do you get all that balanced?
It was very difficult, especially as soon as, like, when my son was first born, and I'd had many years of sort of obsessively focusing on comedy, and suddenly you're just, especially like my son was born right after I did Conan. So it was the first time in my career I felt like I had traction. I felt like I could leverage it into something. And immediately it was like, nope, you don't have time for that. So I kind of, I don't know if it was like, there was a lot of anxiety about not being able to kind of use the opportunity I've been given. But in retrospect, and you know this too, the time with your kids goes so quickly. I don't regret taking a step back at all, and I spend as much time with my kid. And stand-up is going to be there until the day I quit breathing. I will always be able to do it. But my kid, he's around for a finite amount of time, and then he's off to live his life. So,
and he's only going to give you material for so long, Dad.
Right? Yeah. He does. He takes credit for both of my like big viral video clips because they were both about him. So he thinks that it's thanks to him that I got a little bit of fame.
All right, we are going to take a quick break, and once Tony has completely rewritten the ballad for you guys, we're going to go ahead and put that on the field. We'll be right back with his What Are We Doing and Gush and Go. So see you in just a minute.
Hey everyone, it's Jeremy, and here are your announcements coming from the box. Don't miss all of our bonus content, including On a Water Break in Rhinestones with your host Lexi Duda, exploring the world of the twirlers. Don't miss Parades and Drum Majors at Step Off with your host Jack Goudreau, and get lost in translation with your host Cynthia Bernard, exploring all the words that confuse all of us in the marching arts all across the world. And go behind the lens with marching arts photographers all across the country with your host, Chris Marr. Plenty more bonus content from On a Water Break, so listen anywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to be on a Water Break as a guest, or you know somebody that would make a great guest for On a Water Break, email us at onawaterbreakpodcast.
All right, we are back on the sidelines with comedian and drill writer Tony Deyo. Tony, I just got to know, this is like one of my favorite things to ask. What part of the marching band show are you? Like, if you had to carry yourself, your personality, what is it?
Well, it feels like cheating to say that I'm the drill because I'm a drill writer. So I'm going to eliminate that from my options of things to say. If I really look at my life and I spend a lot of time trying to be the center of attention on stage all by myself, I'm going to say I'm the soprano soloist.
Okay.
Too much ego. Okay. Thinks too highly of myself. We'll go with that.
Can I say my opinion after binging your TikTok videos? Yeah. I would have actually said something like a Z pull. Like the drill move.
That's good too.
Oh,
that's a good idea.
It's very centralized. It just keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, I do love the Z pull.
It's a good one. It's a good one. So that being said, what are we doing in the marching arts?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
Do you have anything that you just want to like question or throw out there for people to think about? Like, why do we do this?
Is this where I get to complain and be an
complain? Please, right. Just throw it out there.
All right, look. So I'm a drill writer, and I was in drum corps in the '90s. I don't think we march enough anymore. I know this is tilting at windmills and the old man shaking his fist at the sky, but
play something.
There's just I feel like we don't make, like, I used to watch drill and I couldn't figure out how what I saw happened, and I would have to rewind and watch it again and go in slow motion and try to figure out how they did it. And now I watch drum corps, I'm like, oh, they played and then they ran over there and then they played again. So I really wish we would march more. And I don't know if it's the pendulum's ever going to swing back again. I think it does a lot in this art, but I don't know if we'll ever get back to like the days when people were just moving, and because it affects the music a little bit and it makes it harder to play, and everybody's chasing points. I wish we didn't do that as much either. I wish everyone just put on the best possible show they could and not worry about what box some dude was going to put them in that night. Because I think the activity would be so much better. I think if these drum corps could put on the show they wanted to do without ever worrying about what number they were going to see at the end of the night, I think we'd have better activity. But I
almost feel like that's what's happening kind of in some of those, and they're not getting the credit for it. They're just going and they're putting on a good show. And they're putting on a drum corps show, and then they're not getting the credit for it in the scores, and so we don't see them in the top. I
hope they keep doing that. That's what will keep people interested. And when we all chase the number, a lot of the shows start looking the same.
That's why I make it a point to get to the show at the Star Spangled Banner and sit down. Because, a lot of people can't appreciate what those lower tier corps that never get seen do.
Right.
But there is a lot of effort put into the design. They just don't have the talent to maybe pull it off. But the design thing is there. If you're a writer, you should be able to see that.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Great. I do too.
All right, so complaining aside, what would you like to gush and go on about?
Great job, everyone. Set your equipment down. Gush and go.
Okay, so this is me being self-promotional, if you don't mind. I am recording a new comedy special. I'm very, very excited about it. Ooh. It's going to be February 7th and 8th in Washington, D.C. at the Comedy Loft. And that will be my second special, my fourth album, and I'm super excited about it. Does that count?
How can people can people get tickets to be a part of it?
Yes, they can.
That 100% counts.
How
do our listeners go about finding that?
There'll be a link on my website if they go to TonyDeyo.com, and that's spelled Deyo. Or if they're living in D.C., and they probably know that Comedy Loft, it's a comedy club there in Washington, D.C., and they can get tickets on their website.
Excellent. Well, so if they want to find those tickets and they find you, they can find you at TonyDeyo.com. Where can they find you on social media?
On Instagram, where I'm the most famous. They can find me at Tony Deyo. And I think on TikTok, I'm probably Tony Deyo Comedy. They tell you you're supposed to have the same name on all of them, but some other Tony Deyo grabbed my TikTok handle.
He saw how famous you are on Instagram and was like,
I want that name. Then they're going to try to to me in 10 years.
Probably. Well, thank you guys for a great rehearsal this week. Thank you, host Woody, for joining me.
Thank you,
and
Woody.
Thank you so much, Tony Deyo, for being on. This has been it's been so exciting to talk to you. Like I said, I've been binging your stuff, and I've been so just excited to meet you and get to chat with you today. One more thing, don't forget we have our YouTube channel. It has many of our interviews coming out as full video editions, so go and subscribe so you don't miss those. And before you close out of your podcast listening app, go subscribe, write us a review, and share this episode with a friend. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media at On a Water Break, and we'll see you at the next rehearsal on a water break.
Now go practice.
The On a Water Break podcast was produced by Jeremy Williams and Christine Ream. The intro and outro music was produced by Josh Lyda. To learn more, visit lydamusic.com. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.